5:30 on December the 5th. We'll call the meeting to order of the Ayer Board of Health. And one of our members has some medical issues with a family member that she's taking care of, so Pam won't be here this evening. The first item on the agenda is an executive session regarding Mimi's Place. And is there...
I'll make a motion to come out of open session into executive session.
Okay, that would be good. So just read the...
Okay.
Pursuant to-
Executive session pursuant to Mass General Law 30A, Section 21A, exemption number 3, to discuss litigation strategy with respect to the case of Mimi's Place LLC versus Board of Health of the Town of Ayer et al., Middlesex Superior Court, CA 2181 CV 4967. If discussing the matter in open session will have a detrimental effect on the town's litigating position, and the chair so declares.
The chair so declares. Motion's made. I'll second the motion to go into executive session. Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
The board will come out of executive session just to go back into open session for the rest of the agenda. So motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. In session. Public input, there's no one here from the public,
No.
so there is no public input.
Do you want me to go first and I'll give you my stuff and then include that?
Well,
shelter?
Sandy Pond's next and we've got new business. We can go, yeah, it's
Yeah.
on here, yeah.
Okay.
So you want to do Sandy Pond?
So Sandy Pond, I have the water samples. I didn't email them to you, but I did print them.
Cool.
So we want this number here, the cells per milliliter, to be below 70,000. And on the 15th of November, they were at 33,073. On the 29th of November, they were way down to 2,272. So I think we're good. And then in the spring, look at the clarity of the pond and then
Yep.
take it from there.
But we've met the requirements of the state by having 2 tests within
2 weeks.
2 weeks that are within acceptable ranges. You know, we don't know what the reference range was down there. It could normally be 30,000. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, at least we have something now.
Yep.
You know, that, like I said, it was definitely, that second sample was definitely, the water was much different than it was.
So our Sandy Pond algae bloom is resolved, and we'll look at it in the spring of the year.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bridget.
But who took down all your signs?
I don't know.
Someone, she had posted signs all over the bridge and
Yeah.
on telephone poles. Someone took them all down.
Someone took them down, and you know, the sad part about that is the reality is they took them down, but dogs still could have gotten sick, because even though the water's clearer, what happens is the toxins are released after the
The bloom.
bloom.
Yeah.
So whoever took them down, next time please don't do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's not a next time, but you know, you just, like I said, you just want to be sure that the water's clear. That definitely, that second sample indicates that we're good.
Yep.
In a very good place.
Good.
So the only other thing under old business that I was going to say is the reinspection of McDonald's. I talked to Bridget today. It has been reinspected, but it's on their radar to routinely go into McDonald's. But everything was fine on the reinspection.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a question. They opened the play place up again. Is there any, now that we're post-COVID, not completely, but is there going to be any difference between the way it used to be sanitized than now? Because I remember when I used to take my kids in there when it first opened, they used to have the ball pit and everything.
yeah.
And it made me crazy that, you know,
I
it's
don't
just,
know if they, I don't think there's a requirement. 'Cause
okay,
if there's no,
for those indoor kind of things.
but I can ask them. I have the contact for the owner, so I can ask him.
Or even those pump stations that you see.
Yeah,
when
wipe
you
your
go-
hands or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
just curious.
Yep. Good question.
Petri dish.
So under new business, there was an announcement of a proposed shelter on Devon's. And I haven't seen anything official, and I asked the assistant town manager, she said that they received a phone call from the Devon's Enterprise Commission letting them know that this was going to be happening. The reality is, whatever they do, it's under the state, but it's not within the boundaries of the town of Ayer. It is in the boundary of Harvard, Mass., the old Officers Club. And Bridget had told me about it, but you want to give a brief overview, Bridget, of what you know, or?
So it is on Devon's at the old Officers Club. It is not, it is a state building. And so we don't, as far as inspections go, we don't have any jurisdiction. The state inspects and licenses the homeless shelter. So I only have gone to a meeting and talked to Neil from Devon's several times today. We had a meeting last week. It is a transitional shelter, dry shelter. While the state sets up other permanent shelters and places for individuals to go, families, pregnant women, this is a stop for 3 to 4 days. You already have to be in the system. You cannot just show up on their doorstep. No one from Ayer can send them, or Harvard. You have to literally be in the system. You go there for 3 to 4 days while they transition you to your next more permanent spot. They don't have a kitchen, they don't have showers, so this is all temporary, maximum 6 months, because it's not set up to be a full-time spot. It's just, they have other spots in Massachusetts that are going to be designated shelters, bigger facilities. I guess one of them is on Salem State. They're converting an old dorm building that's not being used into, I don't know, apartments, shelter, whatever it is. So this is literally just a 3 to 4 day holding stop to transition them. So they're taking them, if they're going, individuals are going to hospitals because they have no place to go and it's cold, that's where they'll be in the system and transition through Devon's and then back out. I specifically asked, is it a dry shelter? It is a dry shelter for pregnant women and families.
So this is not the same as the announcement that Charlie Baker had made that migrant families would be. This is
it's
people that have been in the system, though. When you say people that are,
there might be people in the system that are here, families that are seeking asylum, possibly, that might be part of the pregnant women or families, but it is a shelter for pregnant women and families.
I guess my question is, this population, is it specifically the migrant population, or is it encompassing other families in our towns that needed to be transitioned to?
So it's not, I don't know. I think it could be a combination of both. Again, it's people that are in the system that are, if they're coming here from another country seeking asylum and they're in the system, they might be part of the pregnant women or families, but specifically it's pregnant women or families. Who's coming, we don't know until.
And like you said, we're not.
Well,
that information isn't.
I guess the thing that concerns me is that our relationship with the shelter is through Bridget. And Bridget is town of Ayer. We're not Devon's, and we shouldn't be. I mean, to give advice and be helpful for sure, but I don't want to see the Ayer Board of Health get sucked into Devon's.
You have nothing. So I'm the agent
want,
for Devon's as well. So just like I'm your agent, I'm the agent for them.
Okay.
So you're not. I will go to meetings and whatever they have questions, if they just want advice. That's sort of what my role has been. But this property is actually, physically it is in Harvard, but it's actually, I think it was given to the state for 40 years or something until whatever happens. And then maybe it will go back to Harvard at some point, I don't know, but this is physically, the property itself is physically in Harvard. But everything's being done through the state and through Devon's deck has to go through some permitting processes as well, because it's their building. And
My caution with this whole thing, Bridget, is back when Devon's was closing, I was on the board of selectmen and I saw what they tried to do. And they were trying to push everything towards the town of Ayer, and I don't want that to happen. So, what they do up there in terms of health issues, I'm sympathetic to the people that are there, but it's not a town of Ayer, nor should it be
Nope.
any
It's-
impact on the town of Ayer.
it's not for any, like I said, it's not any of the towns that we cover, but I also thought it was good to go to find out what was happening
Yeah.
for
Oh, for sure.
everyone
Yeah.
involved. But like I said, it's a transitional shelter for women and pregnant women and children. People will be there 3 to 4 days and then transition to a more permanent spot. There'll be all sorts of people, I'm assuming. But again, it's just, the question I asked, was it dry?
So
What does that mean?
Dry?
Dry.
No drugs.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to clarify because if
Yeah.
I just write that, no one's gonna.
So no drugs or alcohol.
So the state is supplying a staff for
Yes.
all of that?
Yes, it will be staffed during the week. There'll be, I think, people to deal with, medical issues. If individuals have medical issues, I think there'll be caseworkers and things like that. There'll also be, I think the state police will be monitoring as well, but then they'll have their own 24-hour security. Not cops, but security.
What did you say, 6 months?
6 months at the most. So they don't have an active kitchen. They don't have
I
showers.
was gonna say, how are they feeding these people and?
They'll be doing catering, box lunches, stuff like that. That's why it's truly transitional. They're bringing in bathroom facilities, showers, and again, we're not there yet. They're still trying to figure out the logistics of some of the stuff, where the bathroom's going to go, tying it into Devon's sewer and water. The permitting process is a change in use of the building, so the building inspectors, state fire marshals, plumbing inspector, they're all involved in that component of it. So when is it going to happen? Don't know, but
And it can hold up to, all I can picture is that officers club just
125 max. I
at a
think
time.
they're shooting for, I think, 100. And it might be less than that. It might be 50. It could be 25.
That's the max.
It depends on, again, what's going on and the need for that specific moment. But it's not like you can't just send someone there. It's not a walk-in shelter. So that's all I have on that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thanks, Bridget.
Do you want me to keep going with my stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this actually came the last meeting, and I thought it was a mistake. This is just for your records. It's a septic issue up in Ashburnham, and they're just looking at some enforcement against a septic inspector. So this is just for your records, in case they come to do any septic work in our towns, just to sort of.
Go ahead, you can fill me in.
This is only really in as much as we're a member of the Neshoba
That's right.
Associate Boards of Health, that's it.
So it's just CC.
Yeah, it's just every town got one.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just to keep, I think, more me if I'm working with them for septic, to keep my eyes. But for your records as well. Because when they're licensed in all of our towns.
Yeah.
So this is the name of the company, I guess, right here, right? right?
Yes.
And this is ours.
Yeah, so,
Just an FYI.
yeah,
Yep.
we don't, I mean, there's
You don't have to do anything with
there's
it.
no septic, very few septic systems in the town of Ayer. So.
Yeah.
This is just a Title V for 77 Fitchburg Road that passes. I already went through it. It's just more for your records. I keep them at our office.
Oh, is that the new, the
Well-
building, 77?
Robert Warilla.
Oh, Warless.
That's the garage,
auto.
the auto repair
Yeah.
facility.
He might be selling it, and when they sell it, they do a
Title V, yeah.
So that's just, we did inspections at the regional high school and Page Hilltop, no issues. Subway, we did an inspection. Kayleen actually did this inspection. I think one of the refrigeration units was having trouble, so I went back after this. I emailed that food inspection for
Yep.
Subway.
Yep.
So the inspection of Subway was done, and then the re-inspection was also done.
Good.
All set, no major issues.
Okay.
So those are the schools and then Subway. We were called to do a housing inspection at the Air,
18 Pond.
on Pleasant Street, the Air Housing Authority.
The old Pleasant Street School.
Pleasant Street School. It was just one thing, water stains indicating a past leak. I talked to Ken Martin from the Air Housing from the Air Housing. He's gonna go up, they're gonna paint the ceilings and just monitor at this point, but I think the leak is no longer active. So that's just FYI.
FYI.
Okay.
And then the other one, the food permits, Lucia's, and Air Convenience Store. These are just we'll get stragglers now that are,
Yeah.
and that's it for me.
Nice.
Taft Street,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
do you want me to give you an update?
Yeah. So why don't you kind of back up though in terms of why we're sitting here talking about it?
So we only have one individual left that didn't get their permit for keeping of animals.
He did. I have it here. It needs to be signed tonight.
Okay, so then
He's all set.
okay, so the last one would be 17 Taft Street.
Mm-hmm.
I sent a letter with a application, and I received a call today that she'll be having her attorney call us.
Who called you, Bridget?
Ruth Maxon.
She did call you.
Yep.
Okay.
So
So we're just waiting to hear from her attorney? In the meantime, she doesn't have a permit though
correct.
for keeping
Of animals.
farm animals.
Correct. And the purpose of the permit is just obviously to check. First of all, we want to know who has animals, how many, and what we're looking for is basically how are you storing the feed, for odor control if you have multiple animals. Again, it's just to make sure that we're on top of everything.
So help me understand, if someone doesn't have, regardless of who it is, what's the enforcement for not having a permit?
We're gonna have to go to court.
Does the MSPCA come into play at all in terms of, well, if we're looking at the safety of the animals, is this an MSPCA issue?
For her not getting the permit, no. If there's an issue, and I don't want to speak out of context or give any misinformation, but Julie is up there to do inspections. She does the inspections for chicken coops, whatever. She has already done that. She sends that barn book information off to the state. We don't get that. If there's an issue, my understanding is that she'll follow up on her end.
Okay.
So our issue is basically just making sure that there isn't a nuisance from what's happening on the
Okay.
property. Anything that has to do with MSPCA, that would go through
From Julie?
a different channel, yes.
Okay.
So the compliance of like how many animals on the property, so much, footage or fencing or whatever, that's all Julie's domain, the
Yes.
barn book and all that.
That's clear that, and I've talked to Mike Cahill from the state so many times, and he's a great resource. The Board of Health from our perspective, we're looking at the nuisance component of it as far as animals, and animal abuse, animal cruelty, any animal issues like that. That goes to the appropriate channels. I mean, obviously, if something happened and somebody called us or saw something anywhere with any animal, we would follow up with Julie, and then
Okay.
she has contacts for MSPCA. You know, there's different contacts for different animals too.
Okay.
But if a permit ultimately is not, if she does not get the permit ultimately, then we seek action in court.
I guess
Okay.
I just don't understand why all these years you've had the animals just get your permit like you do all the time.
And again, right, from the Board of Health perspective, what you don't want is a situation where you don't want to have a nuisance come up from things like animal feed storage, from animal waste in the summer creating an odor or flies. It's just to make sure on that end. And again, you know, are there any, I don't think it's too much of an issue in air, but are there any wells in the area?
Can be
yeah.
contaminated.
Yeah.
Right, and then, you know, we just had this issue come up, and it was resolved, the homeowner, resolved it with us, but they somehow got a rooster, and it was driving the neighborhood crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Anyway.
see that.
Okay.
When you have dense areas, it's just.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I get it.
it's sometimes hard to tell with chickens when you get them.
It's,
Just
I
turn
think
into
that's what
roosters.
happened. So, I mean, that's our role. And then, you know, again, Julie does the inspections for the barn book, and if she's there, she can just do everything if the board is okay with it, just during that one inspection, which was already done.
Can you just ask Julie for an update if there's anything new from her end? Because I haven't heard from, I haven't called Julie,
Yeah, I can do that.
and 93 Snake Hill Road.
So,
Is that the place that?
the fire, yep.
Okay.
So as part of that, what came out of that fire was there was people living in temporary trailers up there, and in order to be in a trailer, you need to get approval from the Board of Health for temporary housing, and that's usually if there's, you know, someone's displaced unfortunately from a fire and they have a trailer on their property while their house is being
Right.
rebuilt. Something like that. We just sent that, we have a general letter that we send out telling them, because we formally didn't see anything,
Right.
but there is a trailer there, and there were people on site that day when the police and fire arrived that did state they lived out there. So we just followed up with a letter stating that you need to get permission from the Board of Health. So I haven't heard back from him.
The trailers were destroyed though, right?
Yeah.
Was that everything destroyed, the house too?
No, that house was mainly in the woods.
So the fire was from the trailers?
I don't know what the source.
They don't know what if it
I'm not
was?
sure.
I don't know what happened.
There was some talk about oil being burned, but it's all hearsay. I don't know that.
So
for
they
sure.
haven't gotten anything from the fire?
I haven't
marshal?
had a, you know what, I did ask for a copy of the fire. I was going to ask a copy from the fire department, but Bob Ozak, who I usually deal with, was away. So I thought I would see him today, but I didn't, so I'll see if I can.
Curious.
Missed them by like 10 minutes.
I know, I heard.
Okay.
Under new business, the budget for 2023, Robert sent out the
yeah.
budget. So I'll go through and do what I did last year. And if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's fine, I mean,
Okay.
it's
I
not
mean,
a
it's
big,
not a lot.
it's not a big.
Not a big
no.
deal, so, okay, I'll do that. And it's gonna be turned in, I think, at the end of the month.
Yeah,
right?
the
So-
31st.
So we'll get that done. Anything else, Bridget?
That's
Happy
enough.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
While you're here, do we want to meet again in December? If there's nothing pressing, why would we schedule a meeting?
No,
Okay.
I think it's, we had always said that,
Yeah,
you know, we're meeting for the sake of meeting. If there's nothing new, like you said, if something comes up, that's a different, but I highly doubt it. Most people try to clear their calendars in December.
The only thing I might have is with all the trash hauler and tobacco permits, I have not received a whole lot of trash haulers.
Oh.
So I had given them a deadline of the 9th because we were going to have a meeting on the 12th. So I said, oh, we'll get the last straggle, but
I mean, I can come in as long as you get them and sign them, you know, if that's okay with you.
No, that's fine. That's
If
fine.
they come in, just call me and let me know.
I'll let you know.
But how, is it like a lot that haven't responded? So how does that work? Do they get a?
I will send them a second notice if you need to apply, and please fill out your paperwork, and then we'll go from there, I guess.
But they're all still here. Some of them haven't.
One of them left. That's the only. I received one phone call of that we were bought out by someone else.
Okay.
So.
If that works,
Okay.
it saves us from.
Sure. And then we should probably look at January and I would think the 9th and
The
the
9th.
23rd.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yep.
Is that good for you, Bridget?
As of right now, yes.
Okay. So we'll look at January 9 and 23rd for the January meetings,
Okay.
unless something earth-shattering happens.
Unless.
Okay.
That works.
I went to the LEPC meeting, which is the Emergency Planning
Oh, yeah.
Commission.
Okay.
I think it's twice a year. It was actually pretty interesting. So in the spring of the year, there's going to be a tabletop activation of the Emergency Command Center, and I'm not sure what the scenario is going to be. But the interesting thing is the Board of Health is one of the key agencies that sits in this
Yeah.
designation if there was a
Right.
disaster.
Yeah.
And my assumption is if it was a disaster in Ayer, it would be in other towns as well. And one of the members of the Board of Health is supposed to be in the command center, just to let you know.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good job for you.
Not really.
Here we go.
Not really. Well, we can talk offline about it, but
Yeah.
the meeting was at the fire station. I thought that the fire chief did a great job with it. It was informative, and the different components that go into the command center. Command center would be at the fire station.
Right. I remember this a couple of years ago when Mary was still with us. And there was some, Board of Health doesn't have to do this, but the fire department had sent us a notice that we needed to be involved with all these other things, and it went back and forth, and really nothing became of it, and we haven't had anything where we had to
There's like
implement it. So.
5 or 6 different key positions: fire, police, health. is one of those.
Are we that high up on the pole?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Because there's agencies that are priorities and agencies that are like subsidiaries.
Mhm.
The Board of Health is a priority agency.
Okay.
So, just to let you know. So you
But
may
I
want to
remember-
get your bags packed just in case.
And where would we go? Down the fire station?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there was like
Command
a
center?
major snowstorm that you had to open shelters, if
Right.
there was.
Or if a train derailed and had
But if a
gas
train
in it.
derailed, then you're going to have a problem with the fire station just because
Oh,
it
that's
already
true,
exists.
that's true.
That's true.
Yeah,
So I think there's alternative locations as well.
right.
But, so anyhow, I did go to the meeting. I thought it was interesting. And if there's anything else, I'll let you know.
All right.
We got the minutes from the 14th.
Do you want to go over the call log first?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There was not a whole lot for November, so
That's good.
we need a copy.
Yeah, I did print, I usually print out all this stuff. I guess I missed that. But
You can take that.
by the way, your organization of the stuff is outstanding.
Yes, thank
She's
you.
the best.
Yes.
I'm trying. So, this month there was not a whole lot. The majority of it was looking for Neshoba. That's pretty much what I get. The number of people who call of I'm in Littleton and I need my Title V is very high.
Yes.
And I get to go,
Okay.
you are calling the wrong place. The biggest thing was the filed complaint against Waste Management.
Oh.
So what happened with the waste management thing? Did we
So I went up there to do an inspection, and of course, it was a day that they were like, I went up around Myrick, Willard, that whole area. Unfortunately, there was like 3 or 4 different trash companies where so everyone's trash was out for
Oh, yeah.
trash delivery or pickup that day. I think that was,
So
I
it's
think
hard
that
to
might have, I think it might have been Thursday or Friday, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So I saw trash baskets from Waste Management, from Republic, Shaw's. They were like 4 or 5. I'm gonna go back up again, and then I'm going to call Waste Management, but I think we talked about this maybe at a prior meeting. There is an overall issue with staffing at some of these
Yeah.
companies, and they're just understaffed and trying their best to do trash pickup in a timely fashion, but it's not working. So I'm gonna do another ride by.
I think really his biggest concern is it hit 3 weeks with no trash pickup.
Yeah, and
and
then-
he said he had like 6 kids, and he's like, this is just disgusting now.
Yeah, and that was what happened with Republic. It was Republic. It just
So you'll take a ride up there tomorrow or something, or I'll
Yep.
swing by there as well.
yeah. No, it was that particular day. It was like it was everyone's trash was out. Like all right.
Of course, it was trash pickup day.
Mm.
So I'll follow back up, and then I'll just give a courtesy call to Waste Management to find out what's going on, and also talk to them about their permit.
Yeah, because I don't have theirs.
Okay. Anything else? Dan? Bridget? Trish? Nothing? I read the minutes from the 14th. I had no question on the
No.
minutes.
Good.
Is there a motion to accept?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the Board of Health meeting from November 14th.
I'll second it.
2014.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll just give you my copy, Sam.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just give me the second page. It's all good.
There you go. Thanks.
Thanks. All right. and
No bills?
I have a bill.
You have a bill?
I have a bill.
Still water sampling or?
No, the water sampling bill was actually, because you sent it to me and you sent it to Kerry. Kerry took care of it immediately. She works in the accounting office.
I have another one that I'm sending over a copy on it for
Okay.
round 2.
Round 2. I actually got this morning. This is the 3rd quarter billing for the nursing services for Neshoba.
Oh,
So I will pay it next time. If you're
Yeah.
interested, it's $9,644.86.
we should probably make a motion to pay the bill, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to pay the bill for Neshoba Nursing Service. Is that what it is, Sam? In the amount of $9,644.86.
$644.86.
Motion's made and seconded to pay the 3rd quarter billing from the Neshoba Nursing Service as presented.
Sorry.
I don't remember what it was. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The only other thing I got, actually this one was addressed to you. I received it this morning. It's the first bit of mail that was actually addressed to Steve and not me.
Oh,
And it could be just junk, but because it actually said your name and share,
And it's junk?
Oh boy,
You think it's junk?
I think it's junk.
it's probably just. If it's for mosquito control, I open it, but I couldn't tell what it was.
Pine Knoll Mobile Home Site Lot 10.
Oh. Is it an insurance thing?
Yeah.
Is that a dog?
Yeah.
The
Is it
only
on
one-
Groton School Road? There's
Yeah.
2 of
It's
them.
the
There's
only
11.
one.
There's 11 and 25.
The purpose of these reports is to report the release of home heating fuel oil has occurred at the subject location and document initial remedial response action. The report also describes the plan proposed to achieve a permanent solution. The release notification form and IRA plan and status report can be reviewed online. Would you do me a favor? Refer this to the fire chief to make sure that this, I'm sure that us receiving this is part of what the fire department has done.
Oh, okay.
But let's make sure that somehow it didn't just come to us and
No one
the
else
fire
knows what would
department
happen.
hasn't.
So what is it? Can you, again,
It sounds like an oil tank, probably leaked
Oh,
home
okay.
heating oil is what it is. So we're being notified
okay.
of that. But that would be a
The
fire department.
definitely,
Okay.
a hazmat
Yep.
kind of thing. That's a big deal though, those old tanks when they got built. Remember my neighbor
Yeah,
on Central Ave, no names,
yep.
it just, the leg rusted, that was it.
I was talking to someone that had their hand over the leak in their tank and had their cell phone in their other hand, calling someone to
Yeah.
come down here.
Hello.
So yeah, it can be an issue.
Yeah.
I will let
But
them know
if
and
you
I'll
could-
put it in their file.
Yeah, and just if you could give the fire department a call in the morning.
I'll let them know.
I do have a request for reimbursement for ribbon for printing, for ink for my printer.
Oh,
I just spent $29.51 for ink cartridges.
there you go. Well, yeah, so how do we just,
Well, there's a reimbursement form, and I filled it out, and if you could give it, well, I guess it needs to be approved.
so how do I,
Well, just-
I make a motion to approve the
Reimbursement.
reimbursement to the chair for $29.51 for printing expenses.
I'll second it only because
'Cause
no
you
one
have
else can
to.
do it. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
I used enough of it printing paper, and I think
Yeah.
if you do as well.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
All right,
Okay.
I will, this, bills are next week, so.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
The only other mail we got was from mosquito control. They gave us our schedule for next year.
Oh, already?
There's that. And then I have permits from various people.
Okay.
I'll start with the tobacco permits. I have 4 for Shaker Hill Country Club, Central Convenience, so that's 30 Park Street, the Family Dollar, and Barnum Road Liquors. They have all applied. They all did everything they were supposed to do. They're all good. They need to be signed.
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the tobacco permits for
Shaker Hills.
Shaker Hills,
Family Dollar.
Family Dollar,
um,
Barnum
Barnum
Road
Road
Liquors, and
Liquors.
Central, what's the other one?
Barnum Road
Yeah,
Liquors.
Tim Central Convenience.
Central
They're-
Convenience on
they're
Park
doubled
Street,
up.
right?
Yep. Motion's made. I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Of the businesses in town who have tobacco permits in the past, we have received 9. There are 12 totals. There's only 3 outstanding. They also have a December 9th deadline. Please get them to me. Well, because
So-
they expire on the 31st.
Do they need a second letter? A
Yeah,
second
I will
notice?
probably be sending second letters.
But they're
later
all
this-
still open, businesses? Okay.
as far as I can tell.
So Sam was cleaning out files upstairs that go back to like the 60s, the
Okay.
places that haven't been there.
I bet.
I found some interesting things. I saved a couple if you wanted to read them.
Just a little light reading.
Is my name on any of them? Or?
There's a Slarsky on a couple of them.
Oh, it's probably
Lee's Pizza,
Lee's Pizza.
That's across street from.
7 West Main, or 7 West Main, it looks like. There's Lee's Pizza, and then there is a meat market.
That's,
That would
yeah.
be my dad in
That's-
the market, but Lee's Pizza.
I don't know.
Lee's
It
Pizza.
looks like it was the same building. It was very confusing.
It might have been before it was the Ayer house of Steve.
Yeah. I remember Lee's Pizza, but wasn't Lee's Pizza on the corner where the car wash used to be? Where the bakery is now? Wasn't that Lee's Pizza? No?
Which bakery?
I don't know.
On West Main?
West Main.
Oh,
Interesting.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, Lee's Pizza.
Wasn't that Lee's Pizza?
Huh?
I'll read it next
You
week.
would know, that's more towards your neck.
Well,
I'm
right
looking
next
at
to
it
my-
going,
I
Yeah.
never went
they have a
there,
very
so-
nice official letter. of
Well,
please
you
stop
would
doing
know,
things.
you
I-
should frequent that.
I lived there. but
Yeah.
Right.
I think those are all signed.
Yep. Actually, this one, the Family Dollar, is their record.
And there's been no more chatter about the harm reduction site.
I've heard nothing
Nothing.
more. I did see, what's her name? The Stone Soup Kitchen.
Cindy.
Cindy. I saw Cindy and she has had communication with them about the location. But they still don't, I don't believe they even have the van yet. They were looking at a contractor to provide the
Yeah.
service. But I don't think that that's been done yet.
I have one trash hauler permit, E.L. Harvey. It's the only one because
Have they been in compliance, Bridget? As far as you know, no issues. Motion to grant the permit to E.L. Harvey, 68 Hopkinton Street, Westboro, for solid waste hauler permit.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded. All those in favor? Just vote.
of the waste haulers, I believe that is only the third or fourth permit to be given out. It's only the third permit. There are about 10 on the list, so. And it's none of the big ones have given me anything yet, so. It's just little guys. So, you know.
Short-staffed.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
One did call. I unfortunately cannot remember who it was at this point. They are no longer in existence. They were bought out by someone else, but they were bought out by someone who was already on our list anyway, so.
Okay.
And then the last is we have a animal and fowl permit for 7 Doug Road.
Oh. Awesome. This was the rooster location, right?
Yes. They were very nice. They called to confirm that they did everything they were supposed to and came in, dropped it all off.
So a motion to approve the permit for 7 Duck Road.
I make a motion to approve the animal and fowl permit for 7 Dug Road.
Hearing no discussion, I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That it?
That is it. That's all my paperwork.
A motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the December 5th Board of Health meeting.
I'll second the motion. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.